5,500 years ago, the Sumerian people of Mesopotamia developed the first system of writing, now called cuneiform. A reed was used to inscribe soft, damp clay tablets with various types of symbols. These inscriptions communicated the language of the day. They are the earliest human voices we hear. They connect us to a time and people that we could otherwise only imagine. These clay tablets give us a clear picture of society and culture at the beginning of civilization, as well as the character of the people, their beliefs and values. And now, Grant Peeples with Clay Tablets.
I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, 'My name is Ozymandias, King of kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.' Nothing besides remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." We start tonight with a poem by Shelley, and I'd like for you to just kind of remember it's Ozymandias. Remember that, because tonight, our show tonight, stands between two pillars, and both of them are poems. We begin with a poem, and we shall end with a poem. I learned that poem when I was in 3rd grade. I had a teacher at Seeley School on 7th Avenue, where the police station is now, here in Tallahassee. Her name was Mrs. Farrell, and she was big on poetry, and she encouraged us to write poetry. I had a poem that was published in the Tallahassee Democrat that year. But she also encouraged us and made us memorize poetry, and that was a poem I memorized when I was in 3rd grade. It's been an interesting month, and one of the things that has come up last week, there was these juxtaposing stories came up. And one of them was a story about Goldman Sachs that I found in the Wall Street Journal. Talked about how their 3rd quarter profits for this year were record-setting. And interesting, you might remember Goldman Sachs. That's who got the $10 billion bailout back in the last financial crisis. And since we put this show together, I read again today in Barron's that just today, Goldman Sachs has been fined and has paid a $1.2 billion fine and admitted wrongdoing because of some shenanigans that took place in Asia. So you had that story, and then there was another story that came out, and this one I read in the Wall Street Journal, and it is talking about November, in which it is projected that over 6 million American families will either be unable to pay their rent or unable to pay their mortgage. One thing we've learned over the last year, well, we've always known it, but I think it's become more evident to us that there are definitely two economies. There is a Wall Street economy and a Main Street economy. It's the saddest thing I ever seen. This couple and their wedding rings, a pawn shop floor's a nasty thing for tears to have to find a place to fall. And he looks at her and she stares at him. The man behind the counter grins. He takes their rings and pockets them and gives his dirty thumb a licking. He counts 'em out a little stack of shame, and it's sad. Well, it's the saddest thing, yes, it's sad. The saddest thing I ever seen. Oh, and I'm afraid we really ain't seen nothing yet. And he looks at her, she stares at him. The man behind the counter grins. He takes their rings and pockets them and gives his dirty thumb a lick and counts 'em out a little stack of shame, and it's sad. It's the saddest thing, yes, it's sad. The saddest thing I ever seen. Oh, and I'm afraid we really ain't seen nothing yet. And she's feeling faint. She takes her hand, leans against the counter, and her eyes just roll back in her head. A pawn shop floor's no place to land when your heart has just been ripped in half, and it's sad. It's the saddest thing, the saddest thing I ever seen. Oh, and I'm afraid we really ain't seen nothing yet. Now she's crawling round, all in her tears. The man behind the counter swears, says, "Get that woman out of here. It's a public place and I don't care where you're gonna go, but folks, you can't stay here." No, it's sad. It's the saddest thing, the saddest thing I ever seen. Oh yeah, it's the saddest thing, and I'm afraid we really ain't seen nothing yet. It's the saddest thing I ever seen, this couple and their wedding rings. All right, that song's called The Saddest Thing. Let's check in with Donna Maddy. Donna, are you on the line? Hello, Donna Maddy. Well, I guess we don't have Donna. Pete, you know where Donna might be? Yep. We're just going to move right ahead. There is a writer in Kentucky, and I can't remember exactly where in Kentucky she is. And her name is Pam Platt. And I came across something that she wrote. I don't know where it got published, but something that I really enjoy. And we've put together a little thing. Peter, you ready to move ahead to the Platt piece? Okay. Here we go. This is Pam Platt. Like I said, I'm not sure where this got published, but if you're interested in it, we will be putting it on the Clay Tablets website. Even before I learned the verdict, it kept coming back to me. The sight of all those well-dressed people in the Rose Garden acting as if COVID-19 was not a part of their lives. Not with their connections, their readily available test, their safety nets, their proximity to the power seat, their place among the chosen few, the 150 invited guests to this event, the introduction of a Supreme Court justice who threatens the health care of untold millions of her and their fellow Americans, even as they swan around as if untouched by the terrible reality facing the rest of us. I watched as they mingled, as they bear-hugged with each other, as they shook hands, they greeted each other with shadowless, tremorless smiles. Just another day for people who looked as if they thought they had won life's lottery. What did he call some of the rest of us? Oh, losers and suckers who know that in our dealings with most people, we cannot behave like swells at a Gatsby gathering. This, I thought, is what luxury in the fall of 2020 looks like. It's not diamonds or yachts. It's not a $12,000 backpack for a homeschooled child. But rather, it is this ability to move among people with no mask, no social distancing, no abbreviated greetings or encounters. This profane notion that you are in a safe space among your swabbed and certified kin, and that all there is therefore right in your world. What we witnessed in the Rose Garden, the absence of any sort of social inhibitor in the face of so much suffering happening all around them, was the very definition of vulgarity, as was, several nights later, the sight of the Trump family sitting in a debate hall where masks were required, but where they waved away rules that applied to everyone else. Those who wear masks do so to protect other people, which is why Donald Trump has little interest in wearing one, and which is why on November 3rd, we must all wear our pearls rather than clutch them. Pete, do you want to see? We got Donna on the line? Hey, Donna. Well, what we're going to do is we're just going to keep moving. Donna, are you there?
Yeah, can you not hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm on the line.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Hey, what's the score in the baseball game?
I don't know.
That was the one thing I asked you to do. I just said it's the only one important thing is to tell me what the score in the baseball game is. And well, how's everything online? Is everybody okay? Is everybody are things working out there better for everybody else than they are for us here in the studio?
I think so. I haven't seen any problems. Everybody's applauding and saying fantastic.
Okay, but everybody can. The main thing is everybody can hear it. Everybody's got their signal. Nobody's saying that they weren't able to get logged on. That's the thing I was really curious about.
No, there were a few people, and that's probably what I was doing and why I missed you, because there were people emailing me that they needed to get online.
All right. All right. Well, so I just wanted to ask you one more thing, if I can. Tell me about voting in Georgia. Have you voted?
Yes, our early voting opened this week on Monday.
And did you go?
No, sorry, it was last week,
right.
And I went on the second day. And it was easy as far as lines go, but I could, but Georgia has new voting machines now, and I could tell even the poll workers were nervous about the machines, and that we had a few problems that I had to call election protection about, but we got them straightened out.
Oh, you fixed everything there in Thomasville with the voting?
I did.
Okay, well,
everything's fixed.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. Now, listen, I know you're really busy, and it's the day, one day out of the month that you have to work, and I don't want to have to load up on you or anything. But if you would try to get a score in the game for the next time I check in with you, it would be really, I would appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah, all I have to do is run downstairs.
Okay. All right. So anyhow, thank you very much. And so what we're going to do, did you get Donna's picture up, Pete? I didn't even see if you got her picture up. Oh, there she is. All right. Well, my guest this month is Mary Gauthier. And so pleased to have her. Mary has been an influence on me and so many other songwriters. An interesting little side note is that it was really, Mary had a lot to do with my introduction to Gurf Morlick's. I was at a friend of mine's house in 2006, 7, and we were outside working, and we were listening to the Bob Dylan Theme Time Hour. And the theme that day was about drinking. And we were sitting there, and all of a sudden this song came on, and I was just totally bowled over by it. And I had not heard of her, and it was Mary. And the fact that Bob Dylan had picked it up got my attention too. And so I went home and looked her up and bought the record, and noticed that on the back of it, it was produced by this guy named Gurf Morlick, who was also the guy who had produced the record by a guy named Ray Wiley Hubbard, who I recently bought. And I kind of began connecting dots, and that's when I began calling Gurf, getting in touch with him. So thank you for that, Mary. And so there were so many songs I could have played tonight, and I just decided I'd just play y'all the one that I first heard her sing, and it's still my favorite Mary Gauthier song. So this is called I Drink.
He'd get home at 5:30, fix his drink and sit down in his chair. Pick a fight with mama, complain about us kids getting in his hair. At night he'd sit alone and smoke. I'd see his frown behind his lighter's flame. Now that same frown's in my mirror. I've got my daddy's blood inside my veins. Fish swim, birds fly, daddy's yell, mama's cry. Old men sit and think. I drink. Chicken TV dinner, 6 minutes on defrost, 3 on high. Beer to wash it down with, another, then some whiskey on the side. It ain't so bad alone here, it don't bother me that every night's the same. I don't need another lover hanging around trying to make me change. Fish swim, birds fly, lovers leave by and by. Old men sit and think. I drink. I know what I am, but I don't. fish swim, birds fly, daddies yell, mamas cry, old men sit and think.
Hi.
Hey, Mary, how are you?
Oh, good. We were watching the show early and watching the baseball game. You want to know the score?
Yes, please.
I'm just teasing you. I have no idea.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me tonight. I've got a few questions, and I'm just going to kind of shoot if I can.
Please do.
Okay. I had a bunch of them written out, and then, boy, things happen, and I got a tweet today. I do a little bit of Twitter following. And it was from Rachel Maddow, and she said, and this is the quote. She said, "The plot line of 2020 is now officially impossible for human beings to imagine." And, you know, I realized how difficult it must be for a news person, you know, to like take in all of this stuff that happens in our culture and our society and to try to distill it down as she does. She tries to distill it down in an hour, how hard that might be. But I was just wondering if you thought that maybe like don't the truisms that mean one thing to people just out walking around the street, that to people who are trying, like songwriters and artists who are trying to tell stories, are we having the same difficulty that she is having? Are writers and artists having that same difficulty, do you think, with this year?
Well, I don't know. And really, I never know what other people are really doing. I personally can really only answer personally.
Well, good.
For me, you know, I hear that, you know, Jamie has friends and they talk, and I hear them saying they're having a hard time writing, and it's difficult to conceptualize exactly what it is that they're supposed to be writing about right now, or finding a thread to pull that makes sense, because there's so many loose ends and so much chaos and so much uncertainty, and just I think of it right now as living under the largest question mark of all time, and it's just hanging over all our heads, and we just walk around with a question mark over our heads. Right. But for me personally, I would characterize the through line as grief. A lot of grief, a lot of loss, letting go.
Have you been able, during these last 8 months, have you been able, as hard as we know it's been hard on everybody, it's been, and some people worse, financially, spiritually, emotionally, but have you been able to draw on that grief? Have you personally been able to convert that into work that you think is relevant and that you're satisfied with? Have you been able to make that pull out?
Yeah, but I've been co-writing with one of my favorite co-writers from Belfast, Northern Ireland, named Ben Glover, and we've been meeting on Zoom every week, sometimes twice a week. And we've been able to write, we're working on our 4th song right now. And even though they start in one place, they keep ending up songs about loss and about living in a time of sorrow. I mean, there's just so much loss and grief. And I was just thinking, I made a little list because I'm trying to like get the dates on how it all went down. But my friend Ralph Murphy and mentor, He was an ASCAP guy, and he helped me so much here in Nashville. He died in June. Then David Olney died in January.
Yeah.
And then we lost John Prine in April. And most recently, I lost a very, very close friend that I did a 5-mile hike with every week during the pandemic. And for 10 years prior, when I was at home, she got bit by a tick, a very, very specific kind of tick, and she was dead in 4 days. And so I'm just wrapped around these losses. These people were close to me, and Justin Townes Earl passed away. He wasn't in my inner circle, but I sure felt that one.
You're right. Of course we do.
Because I was really hoping he would get clean. Because when he was sober, the sky was the limit for that guy, right. And I was rooting for him, and I didn't want to see it end this soon and this tragically. So grief and loss and this sense of I'm very in touch with mortality, the transient nature of life itself. I'm very in touch with how fragile we are.
Is this new? These are new sources then for you as an artist. These are new.
I guess, Grant. Maybe it's not new, but it's hitting on a deeper level for me, harder. Right. It's hitting much more in my heart and in my soul, and I live with a daily awareness of right now of I know there's going to be more losses. I just walked in front of the TV, and they're starting to talk about exponential increases in diagnoses and deaths in this pandemic starting next week. I know we're going to lose more people. I know it's going to get worse before it gets better. We all know that. Right. And I'm bracing myself in a way, and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I'll be spared or not. Right. I don't know if you'll be spared. Right. Everything's on the table right now, and I think that makes it real hard for artists to write. And I'm grateful that I have a co-writer that we can lean into each other and find the thread together.
I'm interested. Of course, you have mentored a lot of people, and there's a quote of yours. And it's to songwriters, and it's to them about needing to get a place where they are. And I'm quoting you here: courageous and decide to quit playing it safe. And I know so many people have taken your workshops, and really, to a person, they all tell me that they had this kind of aha moment in your workshops. And this is the exact kind of thing when they felt some kind of fear slip away and this kind of empowerment. And this is a bit personal, but I was just wanting to know was this something that you came out of the womb with, or did you have your own aha moment as an artist when you kind of found that courage and decided to quit playing it safe?
It was a bit of a process for me, and I had the great gift of coming to songwriting much later than most. So I was already at the very beginning aware that I didn't have a lot of time. If I wanted to make my mark, I had to be bold, and I had to be good, and I had to really focus. And because I really didn't get started at this till I was about 35. So for me, it became clear pretty quickly that if I wanted to connect with my songs, I had to say something that mattered. And it wasn't that I had to say something that mattered to other people. I had to say something that mattered to me, and then create that empathy in the song that would then matter to other people.
Right.
And so I was just naturally drawn to writing about what was truly and genuinely important to me. Right. And I guess maybe that was a gift. I mean, I wrote some dumbass songs too, but fortunately that didn't last very long because they didn't do what I was wanting them to do. I don't know what I was wanting them to do, but I know that when I hit my lick with songs like "I Drink" or songs that were about a woman executed in Texas named Carla Faye Tucker, who was a born-again Christian, and even the Pope petitioned George Bush to offer her a stay on her execution, and Bush mimicked her and laughed at her in a press conference, and they executed her. I think those were the things that really got to me and really mattered to me, and I'm just drawn to that as a writer. That's what I want to be. That's where I want to be.
Yeah, I have an artist friend named Jim Roche, and he said, he realized he got to a point in his life where he started early, but and he's a bit older than us, but he got to a point in his life when he realized, I have to make every one of them count. Everything he didn't want to, as we say in the music, he didn't want to write any turds, and he really wanted to make everything count, and I think that's what I'm hearing you say. At 35 years old, you realized that you didn't want to leave anything on the table, so to speak.
Yeah. and I knew the tradition I was coming from.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't confused about that.
Right.
I knew that without a doubt, my hero was John Prine.
Right.
And I knew that without a doubt, the bar I had to reach was Sam Stone.
Right.
And it still is.
Right.
And so that's just not negotiable. That's what I'm aiming for. And I don't get there every time, but I do know that is the wheelhouse that I fit in, belong in, and want to be in. And
Right.
and that is a different thing than trying to write for the masses or trying to write a hit or trying to be entertaining.
Right.
With an emphasis on humor and wit, cleverness. I try to, it's good to have some humor, but it's not. John always was able to do it with a wink and a nod, but it's not something that I spent a lot of time developing in me. If I can get them to smile, I feel real good about that.
Right.
But that's not the thing that I do best. My best work is done when I make people cry.
Right.
And they're surprised that the tears are coming. And they look at me like, how the hell did you do that? And I just sort of point to the song and say, it was inside you already, and the song just helps you to find it. And so it's just such an incredible. It's an incredible job to be a songwriter.
Right.
It just is a blessed, incredible job.
Do you think it's going to be more difficult now being a songwriter? I mean, are we charged now with a greater responsibility in all of this going on? Do you feel that we shoulder somehow a greater, I don't want to say burden, but a greater responsibility?
No, I think it's the same as it always was.
Right.
It's the same as it was when Woody Guthrie wrote the angry reaction to God Bless America.
Right.
And we ended up with the masterpiece, This Land Is Your Land. Times were just as treacherous then as they are now in so many ways. In fact, McCarthyism was alive and well when that song was born. And I think, honestly, the call to truth tellers is never one that is going to be answered by a whole lot of people. The truth tellers in the arts are few and far between,
Yeah.
and those are the ones who hear that call, and so the urgency is the same as it always was.
Well, I really appreciate you taking this call, and I wish you a lot of luck making people cry in the coming years. And I would just also say that if anybody I think has been able to match the John Prine bar, I can't think of anybody more exact to nominate for that than you. And really appreciate you're taking the call, and hope to see you out there soon.
Thank you, my friend. You're doing a beautiful job here, and I appreciate being a part of the show tonight. Y'all take care.
Okay, and I just want to mention one more thing, if I can. You are doing a show every Sunday. Is it every Sunday show?
Yeah, every Sunday at 2 o'clock Central.
Right, and people can find out about that on your website. And
website, YouTube, socials, all of it.
All right, good. Well, so thank you for that. We will talk soon.
Thanks so much.
Okay, Mary, bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Wow. Mary Gauthier. We're going to go to another woman artist right now. And this is kind of a premiere, I believe. I don't know if this video has actually been circulated. But this is an artist. Her name is Maddie Walsh, and she is from Ithaca, New York. She plays as a solo artist, Maddie Walsh, and she also has a band called Maddie Walsh and the Blind Spots. But this is one of her solo efforts, and this is a song/video, and it is called "Human Made Thing." Maddie Walsh, Human-Made Thing. There's a reference in that song. My mother had to learn to crawl up underneath her desk, which was a reference. I didn't know that they had to do that in New York. We surely had to do it in Florida. I mentioned Seeley School a little while ago, which was on 7th Avenue here in Tallahassee. I was in first grade when the Cuban Missile Crisis happened, and we did those drills. And I also, we went to school with an address that we had to where when the bombs started falling, we were supposed to, there were fallout shelters around Tallahassee. That's where we were going to go. At any rate, that is Maddie Walsh, and a great song. I don't even know if it is available, but it's going to be available soon if it's not available. Pete, do you have a picture of that woman that we can put up there? Yeah, this is pretty much everything you need to know about Maddie Walsh. I am not sure where this was taken. It might have been at the Women's March, but I don't know. But she's quite a human being, quite a woman, and a very good friend. And you're going to be hearing a lot more about her as Clay Tablets moves on into the future. Got some little surprises that involve Maddie Walsh. I'm gonna play a song. It's a song that I actually wrote quite a few years ago, put on a record. And of all the things that I'm grateful for, and I have a mighty long list. I mean, of course, where I was born, and my parents, and all the luck I have had that has fallen in my lap over my life, and the places I've been able to travel to, and the exotic places I've been able to live. I can't think of anything other than my sobriety that I am as grateful for as the education that my parents afforded me. And I went to a school in western North Carolina in 1975 called Appalachian State. And I was up there studying. There's a picture of me as a student. I still have that jacket, by the way. Don't I look like a scholar? I kind of had the scholar on the highway look. I think I was hitchhiking to Asheville at that time. But I had some really great teachers, and going to a small school like that, my freshman year, I had heads of departments teaching me philosophy, introduction to philosophy. Ray Rubel taught me that, and I had a history department chair taught me Western civilization, introduction to Western civilization, and I really got turned on to learning, and I really wanted to emulate these people, these teachers that I had. And one I had was a guy by the name of O.D. Holton, who had a very interesting story. He's from Palestine, Texas, and he grew up in a very conservative family, and he became a Baptist preacher pretty much right out of high school. He went to ministry and became a Baptist preacher, and he did that for a number of years. And as he explained it to his class, he woke up one morning and had a reverse religious experience, and he said he woke up and realized that God was dead. And from that point, he ended up back in a university where he got degrees in English and in philosophy, and he became my teacher. And this is a song I wrote for O.D. Holton. Well, O.D. Holton was a Baptist preacher, had a revelation that God was dead. He became my teacher up at Appalachian, that's the Blue Ridge Mountains, western North Carolina. One cold and bitter existential winter back in 1979. Man, and them were the days before AIDS and global warming, just the clap and the Cold War. And man, that weren't nothing next to these white Christian jihad nationalistic sons of bitches. Well, O.D., he was a heathen, and I was one of his adherents. He said, live right now as though the hour were near. It was 1979. Well, O.D. liked to quote Mr. Friedrich Nietzsche and see all them Carolina church girls and boys looking so uneasy, squirming in their seats and checking their watches as they nervously awaited that terrifying teaching hour to end. It was 1979. Man, O.D. taught a class called Death and Imagination. It was nihilistic fodder for a flaky generation. We read John Paul Sartre, who said hell is all the people, and it took a little while, but I become a true believer. Once that big door swung open, man, I could see the end. It was 1979. Days before AIDS and global warming, just the clap and the Cold War, and man, that weren't nothing next to these white Christian jihad nationalistic sons of bitches. Well, O.D., he was a heathen, and I was one of his adherents. He said, live right now as though the hour were near. It was 1979, yeah, 1979. 1979, man, O.D. had a sign above his door at his office there that said, all ye who enter here, abandon hope. 1979, 1979. He could spell Kierkegaard backwards, this is the truth. 1979. There he is, O.D. Holton, my teacher, the late O.D. Holton, I guess I should say. You know, there's a line in that song. That song is on the very first record I ever made, which is called It's Later Than You Think. I recorded it at Gatorbone Studios. I think we made that in 2007. You know, there's a line in that song that I changed. You know, the song was actually written probably around the year 2000. And there's a line in there. I read it as white, next to these white Christian jihad nationalistic sons of bitches. But the original line was, next to these Mohammed jihad suicidal sons of bitches. And I changed that line. I just didn't think it was right. Didn't feel right anymore. And I think it might have been right back then, but it's not right now. I found a better line. Guy Clark said you can always find a better line. All right, so we're going to do a little thing now. Y'all all know how much I enjoy cartoons, and political cartoons have just always fascinated me, and I think one of the reasons is I can't draw anything, and I just would love to be able to do that, as opposed to having to put a melody to it. And so we're just going to show you a few little cartoons that I've picked up in the last month I want to show you. Pete, you got that first one? This is by somebody, their last name is Davis. I don't know exactly where this came from, but from one of the clay tablets, People. And it is just chock full of, I don't want to say messages, but maybe truths, metaphoric truths. And I just wanted to pick that up. All of these cartoons will be on the Clay Tablets site tomorrow. And this is my favorite cartoonist. This is Zeke of Augustine. Zeke Williams lives in St. Augustine, and if you're on the Clay Tablets group page, you see that I post. I get about 5. Zeke gets up every morning and makes 5 cartoons, and I am on his phone list, and he sends them to me. There is a rumor that he is now going to be on Instagram. Believe it or not, this guy's not. He's not, but this is one of my favorites that he came out with over the last month, and If he does come out on Instagram, I will put that link on the Clay Tablets group page. And I think we have one more here. And this is by somebody named, their last name is Taylor, and I don't think it needs any explanation. But I thought it was powerful, and it spoke to me. And I decided to share it with you. All right. There's a place in Arkansas called Harrison, Arkansas. It is reputed to be the most racist city in the United States. And if you drive into Harrison, Arkansas, you will see some signs on the side of the road there that pretty much announce the kind of place that you're going to. I think we have a few of those. Here's one that you will see. And the bottom one says, "Welcome to Harrison, beautiful town, beautiful people. No wrong exits, no bad neighborhoods." Mm-hmm. I love that it's right next to the First Federal Bank sign. And I think we have one more. Yeah, here's one. They have a radio station there called White Pride Radio, www.whiteprideradio.com. I'm sure you can all listen to it if you'd like to. And so anyhow, there's a guy by the name of, I say a guy, he's a kid, and his name is Rob Bliss. And Rob decided to go to the most racist city in America, the most reputedly racist city in America, and shoot a video there while he was holding a Black Lives Matter sign. He is, just by the way, he is Caucasian. And we're going to show the video that he made there holding that sign. He had to go to several different places around the town, but we're going to roll this now. Take a look at this.
Harrison, Arkansas is the most racist town in the United States.
Have a little pride in your race, brother. White pride worldwide. I wouldn't say after dark, man.
Honestly, dude, you have balls of steel because you could get hospitalized by some guys that want to beat your ass.
I've had several old men come by here, look out the window and tell me, said, "You better go tell that nigger to get out of here or he's hit." About 10 minutes, I'm gonna be back. You better be fucking gone.
Okay, come back.
What about the white line? We matter too. You're a white man. Crazy.
You're a dumbass motherfucker. You dumb shit.
You racist motherfucker. Are you a Marxist?
Communist. Domestic terrorist.
Why don't you take it to Chicago or New York and hold it up for the chickens shut up?
Explain to me why Coop my things.
Real fucking job.
I'm Jesus.
Get your ass out of town. That shit don't make shit here.
Hey, all lives matter, not just black. You're Caucasian.
You're white.
You look like a white guy holding a black lives matter sign. What's the deal with that?
I'd be ashamed to be a white boy carrying that stupid sign.
You're white, aren't you?
Oh boy.
Hey, lady, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Hey, you saying something, dude?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm good.
Because I'm tired of seeing this right here is the biggest hoax there ever was.
It's just the next thing to ask.
It is.
Yeah, black lives do matter, but what about ours, man?
Apparently black people's lives matter more than us.
Apparently.
You know, the Irish have
The nigger's gonna kill you too. Black lives don't matter what you do.
Hey, Mike. How's your day going? Walmart, they put out this statement.
I would ask you to leave. Exactly what I'm saying is exactly what they would ask me to do.
And then this young person comes up and hands him a note. When I was in high school, I read the book Helter Skelter. And there was a passage in there when the attorney who wrote the book, whose name has escaped me, described an event that took place in the courtroom in which Charlie Manson, who'd stayed fairly quiet, his followers made some noise, but he had stayed fairly quiet until this one time. And some stuff had been said. I don't know what prompted, but he kind of called out to the courtroom and he said, remember, there's a little bit of me in every one of you. And I thought about that when I was watching this, because I think it's important for us to remember that there is a little bit of Harrison, Arkansas in every village, hamlet, city, town, metropolis in this country. And also, don't forget, there is a little bit of what we saw in those people in every one of us, just a little bit. And that is something I think we need to be mindful of. I'm going to follow that with a poem I wrote called White Man's Blues. And then as I finish this, Pete's going to show you another video. They know the day is coming when they will not be able to contend with the ponderous and unaltered verdicts handed down from the voting booths. When the sheer metrics of shifting populations and the births of newly shaded demographics will relegate them to the same sufferings that have befallen minorities since long before the time of Moses. It is ironic that they are disturbed by this ambiguous, fearful feeling corkscrewing in their hearts, the ambivalent realization that it would be only fair and fully justified if harsh judgments from this newly risen majority were lorded over them in the very way that they themselves have connived to lord over people of color since the beginning of the American experiment. They are lily white and militant. They have abandoned the principles of democratic self-rule. They are watching the game through a shrinking hole in the outfield fence. They are waiting, angry and afraid, for the imminent reckoning, the face-to-face results of their meeting with the consequences of freedom's math.
Get the fuck out of here! Motherfucker! Our country! Proud fucking American! Made in USA, bitch! Made in fucking USA! Come fucking cook my burrito, bitch! Go fucking make my tortilla, motherfucker! And build that fucking wall for me! Trump! I love Trump! Fuck you! I love my country! Yeah! I'll fuck like at least 10 of you up in one fucking city, you fucking pussy! Come on! You're lucky all these cops are here, bro! Yeah! You're fucking lucky! Hey! Come on!
You know, one thing I noticed about this, the radical right, what we would call this the radical militant right, is they are carrying signs for a presidential candidate. And if you look at what is kind of categorically called the radical militant left, you don't ever see them carrying political signs. That's a distinction. Hey, how about let's see if we can check in with Donna. Let's see if it works. Donna, are you there?
I am definitely here.
Ta-da! There you are. You got a baseball score?
I do.
Yeah.
It's the bottom of the fourth, the last I checked. It is Los Angeles 2 and the Tampa Bay Rays 0.
Boo.
2-0. But it's early day.
It's early.
Day.
All right. Hey, listen, I just want to acknowledge something. I know that those videos that we just showed, I want people to understand that the way this works is these programs start coming together. I find these things, or people send these things to me, and they're kind of big and hard to chew on. And so I decide, I pick out something that I want to show, and Donna then takes that and she has to kind of process it. I don't know what she does. She downloads it and cuts stuff off, and then she gets it to Pete. So she has to listen to these. What was it like, Donna, having to watch those videos like that?
It was painful.
Yeah.
It was painful. I see those young people like that. They're my kids' age, you know. Mm-hmm. And I just imagine, I think of my son, and if that were my son, how painful that would be that he had been so deceived. You know, right. With such hatred being spewed. Fortunately, my children are not like that.
Well,
they follow my way of thinking.
There you go.
But yes, It is difficult.
That's not necessarily the way it doesn't necessarily happen like that, I have discovered. So consider yourself fortunate and job well done. Hey,
Yeah, I do.
two things. I want to just give a shout out to Rita Jane, who works with you and me and helps on getting these tickets together. She handles the PayPal and the Venmo. I want to shout out to her, and also to my friend Harvey, whose last name I can't tell you because Harvey is my tax guy, and he does not want anybody knowing that he does that. But Harvey is up in Pennsylvania tonight. He's from Florida, but he's up there, and he just made it up. I just want to give him a shout out. I don't really shout out much, but I felt I needed to do that because we got a big year coming up, Harvey. Donna, what's going on with the birds?
Well, I have two nice photos for you, I think.
Uh-huh.
The first one, I guess it'll be up in a sec.
Yeah, it's up now.
I showed you these guys' parents. These are my mourning doves, which are among my favorites that I watch. They spend a lot of time. They treat my feeder like it's their front porch. They sit there in the sun on it at times. But they're here with the whole family. There are 3 fledglings there and the parents. And they come and spend 10 minutes at a time.
Wait a second. So, Donna, could I accuse you and not hurt your feelings if I said that you were anthropomorphically projecting that, like, I got like mama dove and baby dove and the 3 little baby and mama dove and daddy dove, and then they kind of like all get in on an air current and they fly to McDonald's, which is your and okay. What else do we have? Do you have enough?
Well, I like to keep up with new birds that show up because most of the summer I've seen 11 species at my feeder, and it just stayed there. But I would see mockingbirds all over town, and like, why are they not coming to my feeder? I would see them down the street.
You took this. You took this personally, Donna. Once again, okay.
Well, mockingbird is my favorite. All the songs are written about mockingbird. But a mockingbird started courting me, and he's still very skittish. But he has actually been on my feeder at least 6 times I've seen. But I could only get a picture of him on the wire.
Right. Well, of course, he's not migratory, and I think what's going to happen in the months that are coming, I'm really anticipating you being able to have actually more different other birds right there at your feeder. All right. Well,
Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and sorry about the little thing. We're going to go right from this. We're going to go right into tweets from God, if I can get these on my phone. Now, I have told people before this story about Gurf Morlick's introducing me to God in Winslow, Arizona in 2014, and I've been following God ever since. His presence on the internet I find to be a little bit more distinct than his presence in the real world. And so I'm following him there, and I just get these tweets, and I read them every day. I have a little moment. I kind of have my coffee, and I have a little quiet time, and I read tweets from God. And I just want to give you some of the highlights of this last month. Here's one from October 11th. One religion is right and the rest are wrong, and you have to figure out the right one or you're going to go to hell. If you're feeling down lately, it's probably because you haven't acquired a sufficient number of consumer products. That was from 5 days ago. Here's one that this came out. Now, I was very interested when the president was in the hospital. I wanted to know what God said. And he says, let's see. He said, I apologize to my non-American followers for the strictly U.S. focus lately. Once this election is over, I promise to spend more time pointing out how shitty your countries are, too. Here's the one that he posted on October 2nd when the president was in the hospital. Doctors at Walter Reed say the president is in, and I quote, hypocritical condition. Here's one. It says from 9/25. There's never been a better time to be stupid. And here is the last one. This was from October 6th. God saying, I know Jesus said love your enemies, but Jesus said a lot of crazy shit. Okay. So those are our tweets from God. Thank you so much, Gurf. I'm forever indebted to you for hooking me up with God. I have a friend named Fred Bonig. He's worked in the music business for years, but he's a DJ. He has he has two things. He has a radio show, a radio network called Ripple Radio, and then he has thedailyripple.org, which is a conglomerate, not a conglomerate, an amalgamation of news stories, the kind of stories that we like. I suggest you check both of those out. Fred and I talk several times a week. We just kind of go over stuff. He's kind of been a mentor of mine. And a few months ago, one of us discovered or came up with this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And I'm just going to read you something about the Dunning-Kruger effect. And after we read it, we're going to show a little video that gives examples of what we're talking about in this thing. In the field of psychology, the Dunning-Kruger effect is when people with low ability, low skill, and low knowledge overestimate their ability, their skill, and their knowledge because of their low skill, ability, and knowledge. They are then and therefore unable to objectively evaluate their own incompetence and ignorance. This psychological phenomenon was identified as a form of cognitive bias by psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger in their 1999 study, which was called Unskilled and Unaware of It: How Difficulties in Recognizing One's Own Incompetence and Ignorance Leads to Self-Inflated Self-Assessments. In other words, if you're incompetent, you can't really know you're incompetent because the skills you need to produce a right and rational answer are the very skills you need to recognize that you lack what is required to come up with that right and rational answer. Okay, so check out this little video here. There. The Dunning-Kruger effect. That is the comedian Jason Klepper, and you can find that. He does great stuff. And thank you, Fred Bonig. Hey, we're going to have viewer mail. Have we got Pete? You got that little cute little thing? We got a number of letters this month. This is from my friend Martha up in Vermont. She said, Grant, I hope you and yours are doing well as possible during this very strange time. I've been keeping a low profile. Haven't been more than 30 miles from home in over 6 months. Grocery store, post office, those kinds of things. Most folks here in Vermont seem to be taking the situation seriously, wearing masks, respecting others, personal space. Of course, there are a few exceptions. She said, take care and stay well down there. Thank you, Martha. I met Martha on a train. I met Martha at that same train event where I was introduced to God. I got a letter from Michelle, and I forgot my damn glasses, so I can't really read the whole thing. But she sends me these. She makes these beautiful postcards and sends them to me. She calls herself my fangirl. I appreciate that. There is a thing in here. However, she did reference the videos that we showed last week, and you'll remember they showed the video of the police situation. It was a police shooting that we had video of, and also an event that took place in front of the Florida Capitol. And she said that those videos were jarring. And she said she has recently reread The Art of War, and I really wish I could you're calling me out here on my eyes, Michelle, but I wish I could read what she had said about the art of war, but I'm sure it's important, and I'm going to have it for next week. I got a note from just some people in my neighborhood. I don't know who it is, Sarah, and she was just writing me and saying, thank you for letting us pick your tomatoes this summer. I made 2 different kinds of jelly, tomato jam, Grant's garden tomato jam, and my own yellow garden tomato jam. And she said the consensus is that my tomatoes make a much tastier jam. And she said she was especially impressed by my Trump scarecrow that I had in my front yard. I plant tomatoes and then I put them out on the sidewalk where people can come by and get them, and it was really fun to do that. Jane, my friend Jane, in Rhode Island Road, and she is a DJ. Was a DJ up there at WRIU, and she just said she hopes that finds me well and that I'm doing okay in quarantine these days. She said she was happy to see as many young people taking up the protest, and she hopes that they're still out there organizing and doing voter registration. She says we need their voices now more than ever. And she said, thanks, Grant, for doing your part and for your poetry as well. Stay safe and well, my friend, and keep the songs and poems coming. Jane Falvey. I got something in the mail. This is the most beautiful thing in the world. Wish I could you could see it better, and I can't. He's obviously an artist, and I don't really know who it is. It's from Bartow, Florida, but it is a handmade thing, signed and numbered, and he sent it to me. And I got a letter from Mary Cumming because I was interested in knowing about how to get my manual typewriter fixed, because in the post clay tablets world, I have some ideas that involve a manual typewriter, and I have one that needs some work. Thank you, Mary, for giving me that man's address down there in Tampa. And then also I got just a little package from Victoria, and she sent me the best pencils. I do the crossword puzzle in pen because I hate these modern pencils, but she sent me these great pencils. Thank you for that, Victoria. And then I got a letter. This is going to be the last one that I'm going to go over. This is from Nathan in Nevada City, California, and he said, Grant, thanks for, quote, keeping it real. I have a peace sign tattooed over my heart, but these days I find myself wanting to clobber people. The situation is so frustrating. The hardest part now is trying to explain all of this to my kids in a compassionate way. Hope you make it back to Nevada City soon. Thank you, Nathan. I don't have children, but I sympathize, empathize. I can't imagine what it would be like now trying to bring children up. But I'm going to just sing you a little song that I wrote to a grandson that I never had. Well, I've learned a lot of things in these years that I've lived. And if I had a grandson, this is the advice that I would give. Be nice to everyone you meet. Hold your friend's hand when you cross the street. Respect your elders and always tell the truth. And show love in everything you do. But don't pick your boogers or scratch your butt, or say poo-poo, doo-doo, or mother duck. But son, it's okay. Yes, it really is okay. It's okay for you to hate Donald Trump. Eat your vegetables before you have dessert, and write legibly when you do your homework. And when you come inside, please wipe your little feet and pick up your toys and keep your room nice and neat. But if I catch you smoking pot, you'll have to share it up. I don't want to find my whiskey in your sippy cup. But son, it's okay. Yes, it really is okay. It's okay for you to hate Donald Trump. Just don't be a liar or a cheater or a porn star banging fool or a narcissistic, haughty huckster, racist Russian stooge. No, show some respect for the human race and throw a few darts in a picture of his face, 'cause it's okay, yeah, it's okay. Son, it really is okay. It's okay for you to hate. It's okay for you to hate Donald Trump. Maybe that'll help you out with the kids, Nathan. I don't know. Well, this is the end of our show. And I think I alluded at the beginning that we were going to start with a poem and end with a poem. And we begin with the poem by Shelley, Ozymandias, which is a poem that reflects upon the vanity of power and of accumulation of objects. And that poem was about, it was published in 200 years ago, but it was about 2,000 something years ago. And we're going to finish tonight with a poem by Mary Oliver. And I want to thank everybody, the people who support this program and who pony up every month. You are sustaining me, not just financially, but creatively, spiritually, emotionally. And you're helping me create purpose in my life, and I am so grateful for that. All right, so here we are. This is a poem by Mary Oliver, and it is called Of the Empire. We will be known as a culture that feared death and adored power, that tried to vanquish insecurity for the few and cared little for the penury of the many. We will be known as a culture that taught and rewarded the amassing of things, that spoke little, if at all, about the quality of life for people, other people, for dogs, or for rivers. All the world in our eyes, they will say, was a commodity. And they will say that this structure was held together politically, which it was. And they will say also that our politics was no more than an apparatus to accommodate the feelings of the heart, and that the heart in those days was small and hard and full of meanness. Mary Oliver. So those are the two poetry pillars of our show tonight. Thank you for being here. Go vote.